Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday. It's Football Hipsters podcast time. We get our teeth into everything European. Tom is back. John's still here. I'm still here. Drew is still away. Hello and welcome to this week's Football Hipsters podcast. A rather blunt intro, if I do say so myself, but you know, these things are just done on a whim. So, as I said, I'm your host, Chris, as I am always pretty much, and I've got John with me, and I've got Tom returning this week as well. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
What's up?
Right, as I said, Drew is still not back. For those of you who just tuning in, who might have missed the news, Drew is busy beavering away coaching the future generation of the US men's US men's national soccer team. There we go, got there in the end. Yes, he does some coaching with the young lads, so that's where he is at the moment. He's not conducting any illegal activities or indeed trafficking of any substances. So whoever tweeted us that, it's not true. Right, let's get underway then, gentlemen, shall we? We've got a lot to cover, including some quick midweek rundowns as well. So let's get underway. We're going to start this week in sunny Spain, and it's this week's La Liga. Right then, Tom, before we get into the weekend's action, shall we just have, we are pressed for time, obviously, as we always are, but it would be unfair not to give our listeners a very quick rundown of the midweek scores and results. So away you go.
Yeah, so Malaga won 2-1 at home against Eibar, or Eibar, as you prefer. Sevilla won the Seville derby against Betis 1-0. Real Madrid drew 1-1 at home at Villarreal, meaning that they didn't break the Spanish record for 17 straight wins, so they finished on 16. Celta Vigo, back in winning ways, beat Sporting Gijón, who was really slipping down the table, 2-1. Real Sociedad, who was at erratic form, beat the impressive Las Palmas 4-1. And Granada lost at home to Athletic Bilbao. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid drew 1-1. Probably the glamour tie. It will definitely the glamour tie of the weekend. Atletico will definitely be the more happy coming away for it. And Messi got an injury which could rule him out for a number of weeks. Osasuna lost 2-1 at home to Espanyol. Get in, first win of the season. Deportivo lost 1-2 at home to Leganes. So Leganes again impressing, and Deportivo really do not look a soccer side that they were last season. And Valencia actually won a game against Deportivo Alaves 2-1 at home, and it was still dodgy.
Like it. I did see them win a game at long last, so more on them in a second. So that takes us then into our games of focus. We're going to start with Leganés and Valencia. Now, Valencia winning by 2-1. So as you just touched on there, it's kind of building blocks, I guess. Is that, is it building blocks, or is it just Valencia teasing everybody into thinking they're good again, and then the inevitable happens again?
You'll find out more in my fixture to watch next week, because it does include Valencia. But it's difficult to look at Valencia now and say, oh, they're back on form, because, as I say, they were lucky to get their win in midweek against Alaves, and they were lucky again to beat Leganes away from home. It's strange what's going on there. Rodrigo's playing up front for them at the moment and trying to do his best, but he is not a great player. He's a decent player, but they need a better striker. But anyway, on to the match. Leganes actually took the lead, and a man with an incredible name that's spelt incredibly difficultly for me to say, called Smanovsky. I make it sound easy, but trust me, if you look at it, it's not. A great cross from Omar Ramos across the box, found him, and he finished brilliantly to make it 1-0. And at that point, you're thinking in 21 minutes, right, here we go again. But then just 30 minutes later, Nani was quite fortunate to equalise. He runs through against the Leganes keeper, Cervantes, and the ball is blatantly caught by the Leganes keeper, but he toes it from under his hands, in my opinion, fouling the goalkeeper. Nothing is given. The keeper's on the floor holding his hands in pain, and Nani just takes it round the Leganes defenders and finishes off into a relatively open goal. to make it 1-1. So that was the tone of the luck going their way for that game, and it continued with Mario Suarez getting a lucky nick off a well-worked one, I will say. It's given short to Nani. Nani whips in a definite shot, and Mario Suarez just gets a flick on it to finish into the net to make it 2-1. Leganes could have equalised later in the match, but the man who scored their first goal, Smanovsky, he missed a penalty, and it finished 2-1 to Valencia. So the man who's replacing Paco Esteban at the moment is their interim manager, whose name completely escaping me, but the fact I know about him is that he has the best ratio for winning matches of any Valencia manager. It's something like he's been 9 games manager, and he's never lost, and he's won 6 of them. So it's a rather impressive record.
Yes, it's not a bad record at all, actually, is it? Is it Voro? Isn't that the guy?
I'm going to look it up right now.
I'm sure his name's Voro. I don't know his first name, but I'm sure it's Voro. Anywho, so 2 results in a week for Valencia, but we're not convinced yet. That's the overall summary, I think, on that one. Let's pick on another game then. Now, Las Palmas and Real Madrid. Now, Las Palmas, we've all said, in fact, that they've been impressing people this season. I don't think anyone really expects them to have a title challenge, but they've been impressing. They've been flying high. And they rather upset Cristiano Ronaldo by claiming a 2-2 draw. Explain.
Yeah, well, obviously, Real Madrid are coming off the back of a disappointing 1-1 draw at home to Villarreal in a game which, honestly, Villarreal deserved a lot more from. And Real Madrid didn't look great again. Obviously, they didn't start Benzema. They're not using the BBC. They're using Morata at the moment in the middle with Ronaldo and Bale either side. It started off well, though, for Los Blancos. I mean, Nacho, who's a player who's playing at left back at the moment while Marcelo is out, it's highlighting an area where I guess Zidane didn't really enter the transfer market as many thought that Real Madrid typically do. Didn't buy a defensive midfield cover for Casemiro, who's also injured, and didn't buy a left back cover for Marcelo. And Nacho's doing that job. He's doing it all right. And he made the first goal by running down the left hand side, smashing a shot of the keeper, and the rebound fell to my boy Asensio, who had to head into an open goal for an easy finish. I'll say it was the best goal in the world just because it was him. But anyway, Las Palmas came back, though. They equalised brilliantly. Tanner, excellent composure in the box. Varane failed to clear a cross that came in. The ball fell to Tanner, takes it down well, and strikes a shot of his left foot that goes into the bottom left-hand corner past Casilla. And so at that point, you're thinking, oh, okay, Las Palmas do look pretty decent, even though they lost 4-1 in midweek, obviously. But Real Madrid did get back into it pretty much minutes after Benzema came on for Asensio. So that means you had Morata, Benzema, Bale, and Ronaldo all on the pitch at the same time, and it paid off. And he finished after Ronaldo had a shot saved, and it rebounded straight to him, pretty similar to their first goal. So rather fortunate with their goals in this game, you have to say. And then right at the end, 5 minutes before the death of the match, Araujo scored after a sort of a bundle. It was good play in the end, and the ball came from the left hand side, ran it into the box after a well placed headed pass, and it looked to be cleared off the line, but he just slid in and it just went in. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't nice, it was just a goal. And you wouldn't blame the Las Palmas fans for going mad in the 85th minute for equalising against the European champions. So yeah, that's Palmas train rolls on.
It's a shame that Tano doesn't play for Real Madrid. Do you know why?
Why?
Because if he did, you could have ITV up front.
Oh, Jesus.
Isco, Vasquez, and Tano, see?
It's Tanner, by the way.
Well, whoever. If you
ruined that one.
you could have Tony Cruz, but that would doesn't really work. So it's not his surname, is it? So yeah. I'll work on that. Anyway, changing channels. Let's look at Bilbao and Sevilla.
It is Voro, by the way, the Valencia man.
Oh, well, there you go. See, I know something. Not a lot. I'd have bad puns, but well, right then. So, final game to look at then. Bilbao, Sevilla. 3-1 victory for Bilbao. Impressive. We obviously have had the interview with the chaps who run the Bilbao podcast. They said they might have a good season this season. Seems to be turning out that way. They're up to 5th with this result. Sami Nasri's goal for Sevilla, not enough. San Jose, Balenciaga and Aduriz, that man again, getting goals. And a former PSG keeper had a rather interesting afternoon. So tell us all, and good result for Bilbao.
Yeah, he sure did. And Sevilla away from home. Is it a great result for Bilbao? It's pretty generic at the moment when you play Sevilla at home. They haven't won away from home since the 2014-15 campaign. Quite incredible. But yeah, Athletic were impressive. I mean, the first goal was pretty scrappy, and San Jose just knocked it into an empty net after a little bit of a scramble in the box. Good, decent cross there. Nasri, though, that man that signed for Manchester City on loan, got the equaliser. It was, if you saw the Arsenal Chelsea game at the weekend and Ozil's goal where he hit it into the ground, Samir Nasri had a similar effort from the middle of the goal this time that went into the net to equalise and make it 1-1. And then Balenciaga decided that he wanted to win the Ballon d'Or this season by having an imaginative individual goal. Lovely little flick to take it past the defenders and then smashed in a left-footed shot across the keeper, Sirigu, and into the goal to make it 2-1 to give Bilbao the lead. And the game was dying out, and in the last few minutes, a ball was played into the box. Adariz jump up to challenge Sirigu for the header to win the ball. Wasn't going to get it. Sirigu blatantly had it, but Sirigu for some reason felt that Adariz had been a bit too physical for his liking and stabbed an elbow into his back, to which obviously the referee decided to send him off with a straight red card, as you would, because it was ridiculous. So Iborra, the Sevilla midfielder, went in goal for the penalty and dived the right way from Adariz's penalty, but couldn't stop it. Right in the corner, perfect pen, 3-1.
Happy days, happy days. Good result that. Good result for Bilbao. And as you say, Sirigu having one of those moments. Yes, not good. Right, what else happened in Spain this weekend, and where does it leave us in the table?
Yeah, so what else happened? Well, Real Betis beat Malaga. Joaquin, the 35-year-old Spaniard, got the goal to give them the lead after their loss at the Seville derby. Eibar beat Real Sociedad. Eibar beat Real Sociedad. Which is again highlighting their erratic form, can win 4-1 against an impressive Las Palmas one week and then lose the next, with Illarramendi own goal and Bebe, the old Man United player, getting the goals, with Adariz Elizondo getting sent off for Real Sociedad. Sporting Gijón lost 5-0 at home to Barca, although after listening to the Sky Sports podcast, I agreed with Terry Gibson in saying that the scoreline did flatter Barca. And they got quite a lot of goals in quick succession. Luis Suarez and Rafinha scored in 29 and 32 minutes, and it remained that way into the 81st minute. And then Neymar, Turan, and Neymar got a brace in that 7-minute period to make it 5-0. So yeah, it was probably quite flattering in the end, and Sporting did weather the storm up until the 80th minute. But you got to play 90 minutes, and they didn't do that very well. Atletico Madrid won 1-0 against Deportivo La Coruña. They're really struggling without Lucas Perez, their lack of creativity, and that they're going to lose even more creativity next week because their main creative midfielder Fair got sent off for 2 yellows rather stupidly. Deportivo clearly looked like they wanted to do the opposite, or do exactly what Atletico try and do and push their players off the pitch, but they just did it a little bit too much. Griezmann got the goal that won Madrid the game. Villarreal 3-1 against Osasuna. Alexander Pato scores. Nice to see him scoring. Bruno scored a penalty, and Sansoni continues his impressive form. They got the 3 goals. Roberto Torres got a penalty in the 45th minute, but Villarreal just killed the game off in the second half. Wasn't impressive after that. Great first half, awful second half. Espanyol, we won in midweek, and then we lost to Celta Vigo in the 90th minute to 2 goals. Giuseppe Rossi, a name from the past, was at Levante last season, and Pione Sisto, the man who came in to replace Nolito, scored in injury time to concede a loss again. Yeah, Champions League, European football, my arse. And obviously, Deportivo are currently, as we record, playing Granada. It's not a great game because I've got it on and I'm watching it, and it's 0-0, 15 minutes in. I will update you if anything happens.
Oh, exciting times. So, where are everybody in the table? Where are everybody? That's terrible grammar, but you know what I meant.
Yes, what's the table? We'll have that. Real Madrid still top, even though they're disappointing. Unbeaten, 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws. Barcelona are second, 13 points, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Atletico Madrid are third, 1 point behind them, 3 wins, 3 draws. Villarreal up to fourth, impressively improving after a dodgy start. Obviously, Sansoni's been the main man for them. And Bilbao are fifth on 12 points. So Atletico Madrid, Villarreal, and Bilbao all on 12 points, therefore fifth. In the bottom, Osasuna bottom, cannot get a win whatsoever. They got 2 draws and 4 losses. Granada, 2 draws and 3 losses, but they're playing right now, so we don't know what's going to happen. They're also on 2 points. Espanyol, we're in the bottom 3. Woo! 5 points, 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses. Malaga, 17th, really disappointing, but they did that last season, finished 8th, I think, at the end of last season, so they could improve on 5 points as well. And also on 5 points in 16th are the disappointing and very boring to watch Deportivo.
Living the dream, living the dream. And of course, we're not going to go through them all individually, but all the Spanish teams in Europe are in action this week, Champions League and Europa League. But we're more interested in the game for next weekend in the league. So what have you picked out for us?
See, I've got to go with Valencia because I'm intrigued by what will happen in there. I've got a tough fixture at home to Atletico, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Can Voro do the business and keep his unbeaten record, or will it be Atletico to continue the train?
Toughy. Okay, super. Right, we will move on then, and we will be back to you, Tom, of course, because you're covering the intro for Bundesliga in a minute. Yeah. And indeed, you've got questions coming your way from our lovely listeners. So we will be back to you very shortly. But we're now going to move over to John, and we're going to talk a little bit of Italian football. And it's this week's Serie A. Right then, John, we're going to start with the midweek action from you because, again, as with Spain and indeed with Germany, we had a full midweek programme. So rattle through those results for us.
Yeah, Tuesday night, Milan got a comfortable 2-0 win over Lazio. Backer on the score sheet again. The rest of the games were all played Wednesday. Bologna getting a 2-0 win over Sampdoria. Simone Verdi back on the score sheet. 2 rids in that game. Barreto and Di Francesco getting sent off. Udinese and Fiorentina played out at 2-2. Bernardeschi getting his first goal of the season. Roma had a 4-0 win over Pro Crotone. Dzeko with a brace there. Pescara and Torino played out a 0-0. Another 2 red cards in that game, both for Torino. Acqua and Vives sent off. Juve had a 4-0 win over Cagliari. Dani Alves with his first goal for the club. Genoa and Napoli played out a 0-0. Empoli lost 2-0 to Inter, both goals from Icardi. Chievo got a surprise result, 2-1 win over Sassuolo, though De Frel on the score sheet again. And Atalanta lost at home to Palermo, 1-0.
Oh dear, and we're recording this as another couple of games are going live, so again we'll let you know how those get on, but we'll focus back to the weekend's action, and I want to start with I think described by James Horncastle as the most entertaining team in Italy, and they are Napoli, who played host to Chievo. Give us your thoughts on their 2-0 victory, and I'm sorry, but I have to do this because I just worked it out. Do you know they've got CGI up front? Callahan, Gabbiadini and Insigne.
God, yes.
Carry on.
Yeah. Well, never mind. Yes, well, Gabbiadini did start. Milik was, the team was rotated slightly. And he was kind of a forgotten man, but he finally got himself a goal. Very good finish. All started from Hamsik, no surprise. Finding a decent run from Callahan, who's been in great form this season. Lovely pullback, Gabbiadini, edge of the box as he does, just rolled it out to his left foot, curled it into the bottom corner. Hamsik himself then got the second, still in the first half. Insigne found him in the box, one touch, out of his feet, onto his left foot, absolute rifle. Sorrentino probably could have done a bit better, maybe got his hand to it, but yeah, couldn't stop them. 9th consecutive home win for Napoli, 100th goal for Hamsik for Napoli as well. They were a little bit better in the second half, Chievo, but Napoli just overall too good. By the time they're 2-0 up, they're comfortable, they can sit, keep the ball, sit deep and hit on the counter, which they did a couple of times, unlucky not to score. Flores, who used to be a Napoli player, came on for Chievo, caused a few issues, but just looked very comfortable and still unbeaten in the league.
Yeah, indeed they are. They're definitely the great entertainers. And come on, CGI, that was good. Come on, give me some credit.
It was a little bit, but only because Gabbiadini was playing. Otherwise, it don't really count.
If I tweet that and it gets picked up by somebody big, that'll be all over the place, I tell you. I'm not going to.
Until he gets dropped for Milik.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? I need to think of another one. Anywho, let's move on to another game before I get thrown off my own show. Torino 3, Roma 1. I'm just going to let you explain the events of this because I found out the result late on Sunday, and I was shocked. And then I went, hang on, no, it's Roma. I'm not shocked at all. So what went down in this one?
Well, it was quite surprising. This is the first time Torino beat the Giallorossi in, I've got it written down somewhere, 9 years. So yeah, the last time they beat them was in the Cup. So, surprising result. Roma started well. Dzeko testing Joe Hart, former teammates obviously. But it was your favourite Belotti on the score sheet again. Started the season very, very well. Effort came from Falke first, and Szczesny palmed it away, but didn't really get out of his box properly. And Joel Obi got on the ball, put a cross into the back stick, and Belotti was there, just better and stronger and quicker than Fazio to the ball. So a really good goal. First half played out. Mainly both teams breaking on each other. Roma probably guilty of wasting a few opportunities. Joe Hart having it was a mixed day. He made some very good saves. He also made some pretty basic errors. Luckily for him, none of them led to goals. Second half, on comes Francesco Totti. It was 2 days before his 40th. He's 40 years old tomorrow. So, go give him some love, people. But he came on, but it wasn't what you wanted to see when he came on because Belotti was fouled in the box by Perez. Roma still having problems at the back. Perez was playing left back in this game, not right back. And I was surprised actually because it was Falke who took the penalty, not Belotti. But scored his penalty. And then 2 minutes later, Perotti up the other end was fouled, allegedly by Di Silvestri. I think it was a little bit weak, to be honest. But up steps Francesco Totti. Joe Hart dived the wrong way, nothing he could do about it, and Totti got his 250th Serie A goal, but it wasn't enough for them in the game. Late on, a Falque shot deflected, gave Torino their third. It's disappointing for Roma. They just, every time they suffer some sort of embarrassing defeat when it was in Europe and things like that, they seem to take a while to recover. And Dzeko, you never know what you're going to get. 1 week he's brilliant, he scores a brace midweek, and then in this game he just couldn't hit a barn door. And when he did get it on target, unfortunately Joe Hart was there to stop him. So great result for Torino, and Belotti keeps scoring. So my prediction of them hopefully doing something this season looks like it's pretty good at the moment.
God, I love Belotti. And that Torino shirt is so nice that even I'm tempted to go for one of those with him on the back, so I might have to do that. Anywho, I suppose I should probably buy the team's jersey of the team I actually support first. I haven't got round to that yet, but that's one for Ross. Anyway, we discussed that actually last night, funnily enough. Anyway, let's have a look at our final game we want to touch on for the weekend is Genoa and Pescara. Now, a lot of people look at this and go, why is he talking about that one? Because it's two unfashionable clubs, but quite a lot went on here.
Yeah, it finished 1-1. Pescara have been a bit of a surprise. I think in the preview pod on this, we said that the three teams promoted probably didn't have a great chance of staying up. I think we had Cagliari as maybe the slightly higher percentage chance, just because they had some more experienced players, but it's two teams that are managed by young coaches. They both like attacking football. It's exciting to watch, and Pescara have been one of the real bright spots. Although they haven't got many points, they've done really well. But they should have actually been down to 10 men very early on. A guy you all know, Campos, had an effort palmed away. What it looked like, it was Bizzarri, the goalkeeper, but it was actually Zampano. So it would have been a straight red and a penalty with inside 10 minutes, but the ref didn't see it, and I didn't see it live in play either. So a bit lucky there, but Crapari was testing Mattia Perin a few times in the first half, so it was quite even going. Sadly, Ocampos went off injured, who was having a really good game up to that point. Second half is when it all happened. Diego Simeone's son, Giovanni, come over from River Plate. I think he was at loan to, was it Banfield or somewhere weird like that, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was.
Only 21, but he's got his first Serie A goal. Got himself on the goal sheet. Really good goal, very good finish. Good little bit of interplay. He's only made 3 appearances, so yeah, looks a bright prospect. Obviously early days yet, but looked decent, good movement. Then it all went wrong for Genoa. They're 1-0 up, looking good. Eden Nilsson gets his second yellow card, got sent off. Slightly innocuous challenge. The first yellow was warranted, but maybe a little bit harsher the second. A few minutes later, Goran Pandev, our old friend from Inter, then gets sent off straight red for dissent. Genoa down to 9 men. So yeah, very surprising. Lots of red cards midweek and this weekend in Serie. But Genoa actually looked more likely to score, to be honest. Despite being down to 9 men, they were still playing very well, still getting forward when they could. But right by the end of the game, Zampano, the man who probably should have been sent off in the first 10 minutes, got to the byline, pulled the ball back from Menage, and Pescara got an equaliser, and they had a chance in the very last minute of the game. Verde coming on and had a header that just hit the post and could have won it for him in stoppage time. So Pescara will probably be disappointed that they didn't win the game as Genoa went down to 9. Genoa will be happy with a point because of those sending-offs, but probably actually could have maybe won it 2-0 despite being down to 9 men. So yeah, a bit of a topsy-turvy game, but two teams that have surprised so far this season, if maybe not shown in the table so far, but with their performances at least.
Yeah, it's a tough league to call at the moment, Serie, isn't it? There's a lot of clubs that are sort of all over the shop at the moment. It still hasn't quite settled down. But what was the rest of the results this weekend then in the top flight?
Palermo lost 1-0 at home to Juventus. Perhaps not that surprising. One surprising thing in that is that Juventus didn't score more goals, and they actually really struggled. And it was an own goal that got them the win in that game. They did not look very good at all. Inter had a very bad day. A 1-1 draw at home with Bologna. Perisic and Destro were the goals in that. Gabigol did come on and made his debut. Just got about 15 minutes. So hopefully see a bit more of him soon. Lazio got 2-0 win at home against Empoli. Keita and Lulic were the goals. Sassuolo 1-0 win at home to Udinese. De Frel on the score sheet again. Fiorentina got a 0-0 with Milan. Crotone lost this evening, or earlier tonight I should say, 1-3 to Atalanta. The young Ivorian Kesse got sent off for Atalanta, but still couldn't help Crotone out at all. And as we are speaking, Cagliari and Samp are playing at the moment. I think it is 0-0. I'll just double check. Yes, still 0-0. So that's only been going for 15 minutes. So we shall keep you updated if there's any goals later in the game. But yeah, that is everything from this weekend.
Good stuff. Okay, table-wise, where are we?
At the moment, Juve are now top of the table because of Napoli's little slip. 15 points, Napoli 1 point behind them in second. Inter up to third, Roma in fourth. And you've got a string of teams, Roma all the way down to Bologna, all on 10 points. So that's fourth to eighth. Sass just behind them. Don't forget Sass have obviously still possibly got 3 points to be added to their total, so they could jump all the way up to third. Down at the bottom, unsurprisingly, Crotone, bottom of the league, just the 1 point. Atalanta will actually be higher up than they are now. They're not down the bottom, sorry. That's not been updated. Empoli will be 19th, and Cagliari are 18th, with Palermo just outside the bottom three.
I do like Sass, I must admit. Do like a bit of Sass. They're impressing me, and I like them. And we've been over my thing for their kit, so we'll leave that there. Have you picked out a fixture with which to look at? We should, of course, mention again Italian clubs in action in the Champions League and Europa League. Yep. We'll be across that on Thursday. But what about a league game for next weekend?
It's very simple. If you're in the UK, stick on BT, 5 o'clock, watch Milan against Sassuolo, and then you haven't got to move. Just order your takeaway, because after that, Roma are playing Inter.
Oh, Roma Inter. Yes, I shall be glued to my sofa for that one. That one sounds like a doozy. Lots of goals in that fixture, and normally, so expect that to be a crushing 0-0 disappointment. Right, okay, I know you've got a few questions to answer later on, John, so we'll be back to you later on, but we're going to go all things German next, and we're going to go to Tom, technically, and then I'm going to butcher my way through this week's Bundesliga.
Yes, it is me. Sorry, I lost my bearings completely. And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing Bundesliga." It was another funny week in Bundesliga, or is it funny? Some of the forms would tell you otherwise. But we're going to start with another crazy game that involved Mainz. Quite a big scoreline. Chris, tell us more.
I will. Do you want me to? I should run through the midweekers, shouldn't I? Even I forgot.
Yeah, do that because I'm
the English Vodka.
The English Vodka, indeed. Yes, I will quickly nip through those, and then we will indeed look at mine. Midweek action. We had Tuesday games. Freiburg beat Hamburg 1-0. More on Hamburg in a minute. Peterson with the winner. Darmstadt, Hoffenheim played out a 1-1 draw. Goal for Kramaric there, former Leicester forward. Eintracht Frankfurt, my kind of yeah, I kind of like them just because of Meyer. He didn't score, but they still won 2-0. Super result away at Ingolstadt. Wolfsburg got thumped by Borussia Dortmund 5-1. Dortmund, they're quite good, you know. Borussia Mönchengladbach, John's boys, drew with Red Bull Leipzig, who continue to impress, or RB Leipzig, whichever you prefer. That was on the Wednesday. Werder Bremen lost at home to Mainz by 2-1. Another defeat for Bremen. 2 goals in the last minute there, condemning them to defeat. One from Yunus Mali. That should make a certain someone listening happy. Bayer Leverkusen 0-0 with Augsburg. But I believe Bayer Leverkusen missed a penalty in that game. I'm sure it's the one I watched, a late penalty as well. The Mexican, Chilean, Aranguis missed that penalty. Bayern Munich, they won. That's a change, isn't it? 3-0. Ribery, Alcantara, or Thiago, whichever you prefer, and Arjen Robben, who's decided to be fit again. So that was the midweek action. Shall we now move on? We say we'll start with Mainz, did you say?
Well, yeah.
Right. Yes, indeed. Well, I'm obviously going to go by Drew's notes here because Drew is the master when it comes to Bundesliga, as we all know. So it ended in a 3-2 victory for Leverkusen. I actually saw little bits and bobs of this game, and the little P popped up with a hat-trick. Chicharito Hernandez was the match winner. But there was quite a lot to tell in this game, and in Drew's words, tale of two teams who have their own struggles. Mainz started the season well on an offensive side, banging in 12 goals, third best in the Bundesliga in the process. But their struggles at the back were early doors exposed, and they were highlighted by this result. They've conceded 11 times in 5 matches. Just proves how important Julian Baumgartner was for them.
Hello?
Oh, sorry, I went on to mute there. Sorry. I don't know where you got me. I don't know where you got to there before I leant on the wrong button.
Just a couple of seconds.
Superb. Right. Yes, Chicharito's hat-trick included a last-minute winner in stoppage time, no less. They actually came from 2-1 down, and it was a very, very good performance in the end from Leverkusen, but as Drew's put here, very, very patchy form this season. It's hard to judge where they are right now. Despite 8 different players having an assist, Roger Schmidt will have to find ways to get additional players amongst the goals and a decent strike rate, or else Leverkusen will be much easier to deal with. So that's his views on that game. So a 3-2 win for Leverkusen, a little lean on the mute button from me. Let's go on to another game.
Yeah, we sure will. And, well, there's this big team in Germany called Schalke. They've had the likes of Manuel Neuer, Raul. I mean, the list goes on of some of the big players they've had. So surely, after they've lost their first 4 games, surprisingly, they can't have lost another one, could they?
Played 5, lost 5. Yes, they can. Oh, yes. Bottom of the Bundesliga, FC Schalke 04. Played 5, lost 5, scored 2. Conceded 10. It's not exactly what they would have had in mind, I don't think, pre-season. I think that's probably the understatement of the year, to be perfectly honest with you. But obviously, we've had this whole shake-up pre-season. Marcus Weinzierl has come in. They've changed the sporting director. They brought in some what they thought were better players. Everything seemed to be in place, and it's just not worked. Julian Nagelsmann, however, continues to build on his initial success. Who might have forgotten, he's the young coach, the 28, 29-year-old Hoffenheim manager. And he's built on what he laid in foundation-wise for last season. Schalke, as we said, sitting bottom of the table. Hoffenheim's first win of the campaign, drawing 4 straight previously. While Schalke, as we said before, only 2 goals this season. It's just a mess, isn't it? They're obviously the far bigger of the clubs. Would have expected better, particularly when they went in front. Player I quite like, actually, Eric Choupo-Moting putting them in front. But Kramaric, that man again, the former Leicester man, and the former Paderborn man, Lucas Rupp, getting the winner. And Hoffenheim turning the game on its head, coming out with the results. Interestingly, Drew writes here, conversely, Weinzierl has been lauded while Augsburg, and they were tipped for bigger things. Now being at a club who have money to spend, who have more luxury players than the blue-collar footballers throughout the 11, could he have made the move to a club? This just didn't suit his approach as manager, which I think he's probably got a fair point there. I wonder if the fit is a good one, but we'll wait and see. It's a good result for Hoffenheim, nevertheless.
Okay, so obviously quite a big team in Germany losing. Now, surely this league of, which some people call predictable, a lot would disagree, especially Drew. Another big team didn't win this week. Who was it? And tell us more.
Well, Mr. Shredder, who you'll know well, both of you from another parish of ours, he started following Bundesliga football. One of our loyal listeners, and yes, he's following Wolfsburg, and they're an interesting team to follow. And I'll tell you the reason why I brought this up, because we actually had a question with regards to this game, because Bremen came out on top. Now, for those of you who haven't been following the Bundesliga closely, or indeed listening to Drew, we've been saying for a little while now. But Bremen have been a bit of a mess all over the shop. Obviously, they fired their manager, and it's been a bit just higgledy-piggledy. But Wolfsburg are very much the perennial underachievers, if ever there was some. And a 2-1 victory in this game, and it came late as well. Really, really surprising result, given what the circumstances was. It was an own goal from Bauer for Wolfsburg, put them in front at 69 minutes. And then I believe it's pronounced Thai. Got the equaliser at 86 minutes. If you haven't seen that, it's an absolute ripper. Do have a look at that. Turns kind of the edge or arc of the penalty area and just fires it into the near post. And the winner from Gebre Selassie, not the runner, but the big centre back coming up from the back, 90th minute. So 2 goals in the last 3.5 minutes. Turned the game completely on its head, and Werder Bremen come out with a point. It's probably a bigger result for Werder than it is for Wolfsburg. But looking at the table, Wolfsburg sitting 13th, 2 losses, 2 draws, and a win from their first 5 games. It's not exactly stellar, is it?
No, not at all.
I could answer Jay. Actually, no, we'll save Jason's question, because I'd be interested to get your thoughts later on. So we'll save that for later. But we do have a question on Wolfsburg later.
Okay, well, you might as well run us through the rest of the fixtures.
I shall. Okay, so the other fixtures, Borussia Dortmund, they're quite good, you know. They won again on Friday night, 3-1 against Freiburg, who I've got a bit of a soft spot for, must admit. Aubameyang, Lucas Piszczek, and Rafael Guerreiro, who's having a lovely old time in Dortmund. 3 goals, 6 assists in his first few games. He's doing very well. Goal back for Philippe for Freiburg wasn't enough. John was happy because Gladbach won 2-0 against Ingolstadt. Goals from Lars Stindl, who I think is the skipper, John, am I right in saying? I think he is. And Oscar Wendt, the Swede, super Swede, boom, 2-0. Hamburg, news on them in a second. They lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich. No disgrace there, but it's a bit gutting when you lose to a last-minute goal. Joshua Kimmich, once again, finding the net. He is banging form right now. Augsburg beating Darmstadt by a 0-0. Finn Bogerson. Darmstadt down to 10 men when Guevara was sent off. Eintracht Frankfurt played out a thrilling 3-3 draw with Hertha. Ibisevic put Hertha in front. Fabian and Meyer, yes, big Meyer, 2-1 to Frankfurt. Then it was 3-2 to Hertha. Ibisevic again and Alex Asfine. And the on-loan Chelsea defender Michael Hector popping up with the equaliser in stoppage time. And the final result was Cologne 1, Leipzig 1. Oliver Burke, listen to the Breakfast Pod if you want to hear Ross get excited about this one. He got the opener for Leipzig, equalised by Osako, ended in a 1-1 draw. Shall I give you a little bit of Hamburg news before we move on?
Go for it.
Well, on this very parish, I said last week, John could confirm this. We had a question. I think it was from our German chap, wasn't it, John? I think it was. Anyway, he was asking who he thought would be next for the chop. And,
all I remember is me not having a clue.
I was just going to say, John threw his hands up in the air and went, I don't know. And I said, well, I've got a feeling that Bruno Labbadia might be in a bit of trouble if Hamburg don't get a decent result in the next couple of weeks. Wouldn't you just know it? Bruno Labbadia has been sacked. It wasn't my fault. I didn't prompt the sacking. There was no letters or emails sent. I have nothing to do with it. But he has been sacked. Hamburg will be looking for a new manager. There's all sorts of names being linked. I don't want to speculate because, frankly, I don't know who's most likely to get it. Tweet Drew, and I'm sure he'll give you his views on how to repair Hamburg, and it doesn't involve fries.
Dear, oh dear. I have to say, I'm as a fan of La Liga, if someone didn't know that, I'm a bit worried for Real Madrid in midweek playing Dortmund. They seem to be on.
Yes, that game, once again, like Inter Roma, that promises lots of goals. So again, I would expect a very dull 0-0. But yeah, it should be an exciting game. I should, of course, give you the table, really, shouldn't I, as well, with where we are. Bayern Munich, they're top. That's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? I didn't see that one coming. 5 straight wins. Not quite as fluid as they maybe once were. A lot of people are saying that, but they're still winning games, so it can't be that bad. 15 points, played 5, won 5. Borussia Dortmund, not far behind. They've played 5, won 4. That one blot against Leipzig, but they're 12 points. Cologne in the top 3, 11 points. John's Gladbach are level with Frankfurt, and Hertha on 10 points in 4th, 5th and 6th. Leipzig, Mainz, Hoffenheim and Leverkusen make up the top 10. Down at the bottom, as we said, Schalke, pointless. I love that expression. Bottom of the league, played 5, lost 5. Ingolstadt and Hamburg also in the bottom 3 with 1 point each. Bremen, Darmstadt, Wolfsburg and Freiburg looking over their shoulders, with Augsburg in 11th. And Drew's picked a game for us. God bless him. Actually, no. What Drew's actually done is he's broken the rules. He's actually picked 2 games for us.
Oh, it's not allowed to do that.
Scoundrel. He's picked Bayern Munich against FC Köln, which you can kind of understand why. That's quite a big end of the table clash. But probably the one that I would look at is Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund, because that one looks a bit tasty, doesn't it? So do look out for those. I can tell you that they are being played. The Dortmund game against Leverkusen is 5:30 on Saturday evening. So there you go.
Ooh. I was going to say, do you know Alexander Armstrong is a fan of Schalke?
I didn't know that. Is that the pointless bloke?
Yeah, did you get it?
No. Go on, fill me in.
He's the host of Pointless, and they are pointless.
Tom, I'm doing the gags, all right? Rein it in. Right, before I make even more of an ass of myself, actually, no, I might make more of an ass of myself because we're going to do France next. John, I'm going to pass it over to you, and we'll talk all things this weekend in Liga.
Here we go with Liga. Chris, do you want to fill us in on the midweek games before we get on to this weekend's ones?
Yes, I can indeed. We had, basically another busy programme in midweek in France. Going into the week's games, we had Tuesday, Lille 1, Toulouse 2. Good result that for Toulouse. Definitely back on form. Ola Toivonen, remember him? Sunderland fans don't. Got a double. Basher with the goal back for Lille, didn't matter. PSG, they won in midweek, luckily for them. Own goal from Lang, a penalty from Cavani and Lucas Moura downed Dijon, who just couldn't cut the bust. That joke's never going to get old, is it? We're just going to keep doing it.
It's never going to get good either, but...
Nah. Not much like most of my gags, never mind. Bordeaux won 3-0 away at Metz. Impressive result that. Malcolm, the best named Brazilian ever, Labbadia and Thielen with a late penalty, 3-0. Guingamp beat Lorient, moving on. Nantes drew 0-0 with St Etienne. Doesn't sound like a thriller, does it? There was a red card in that game, that's about the only thing. Malsui was sent off. Angers beat Caen by 2-1. Danny won't be happy. One of the goals from Danny's favourite, actually, Ko Umfomfole. Yes, Danny loves saying that one. Bastia 0, Nancy 0. Olympique Lyonnais beat Montpellier 5-1. 2 goals in that game for Nabil Fekir, who's back after injury. Good times. 2 goals also for Corentin Tolisso. The early red card for Pote for Montpellier didn't help. Nice smashed Monaco. Didn't see this one coming. Paul Bice 2 for Big Mario. John, I can see you winking at me. And Alisson Player with another goal. And Tiémé Bakayoko, more on him a little bit later in the show. He was sent off, unfortunately. Monaco shipped 4. And finally, Rennes beat Marseille by 3-2. Giovanni Sio, Kamil Krasitsky, and Hunu with a terrific winning goal in the 88th minute. Gomis with 2 back for Marseille, who finished with 10 men.
Wonderful. Wow. And isn't it nice for Nice and all that?
Oh.
There you go. Well,
Again,
I haven't done the joke once yet this season. I had to do it.
Again, it's my job.
Well,
spotlight.
Anyway, moving swiftly on from all the terrible puns, let's go on to I'm not going to do the nominative. See, I can't even do it now. Nominative determinism, the name thing. I can't even say it. I've ruined it. Toulouse against PSG. Just ignore we ever did this section. Surprise win for Toulouse.
Yes. Is it or not? I mean, this is the great kind of question, I suppose is the word I'm just going to use. Simply great question, because PSG, they look so rough. They really do. They look like something you'd pick up in a kebab shop at 3 a.m. at the moment. They're just so undercooked. That's a great analogy, isn't it? They're so undercooked. They look like a side that just can't function, that isn't on the same page. All sorts of rumours about Hatem Ben Arfa not being happy, about Edinson Cavani not being happy. I'd be more unhappy if I had Edinson Cavani, but we won't go there. Just all sorts of kind of uncomfortableness, I guess. And the Emery regime is not really clicking. It's ironic, really, that they brought him in to do well in the Champions League, and he's really mucking up Liga. So it's kind of reverse roles. But their match in midweek is huge. But we'll go back to this game. Toulouse winning by 2-0, and they deserved it. That's the scary part. Bodiger, the young protege, getting the opener from the penalty spot in 48 minutes after Serge Aurier had, guess what, got himself sent off. What Serge Aurier does well, which is so frustrating. Because Aurier is such a talent, but he's such a pillock, and unfortunately 2 yellow cards, needless sending off, and the penalty was converted, and Jimmy Dermaz got the second with 10 minutes to go, wrapped up the points. As I say, PSG just didn't look very good, and I don't know, Tom, you might know better than me, but I just don't think the Emery thing is going to work. I might be wrong. It might just take a bit of gelling time, but early signs are not great, and there's rumours of issues in the dressing room as well. That doesn't help.
Well, it was a strange appointment, in my opinion, just because, one, he didn't win away all season at Sevilla, and to be fair, they're still doing that now, and he's just not the type of manager you'd expect to have in such a creative side. The fit doesn't go for me at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't know. I mean, it might click. It would be sod's law that they surrender their Liga crown and then end up winning the Champions League. That would just be sod's law. But I don't see them mixing it with the best in Europe at the moment when their only striker is Big Edinson. And that's not a knock directly at him on top of what I usually do. I think they need more strength and depth, and they need to play players in their right positions. Hatem. Anyway, John, back to you.
Great week for PSG. I hear a rumour that Aurier might not be playing for them for a little while either as well. But
there has been these rumours before, but then again, he was told he would never play for the club again, and he's back. So you know.
This one he may not have a choice on. Apparently, some naughty things he's done.
Allegedly, yes, indeed, yes. Google them, people. We aren't going to go there.
Yeah, we'll move swiftly on before we get a phone call from lawyers. Monaco, the sort of surprise team packet, or maybe not huge surprise, but the early leaders anyway of the season. They got I wouldn't say comfortable, but they got a win at home against Angers.
Yeah, anything but comfortable, this one, at the Stade Louis II, which is a lovely name for a stadium. Shame it's a not very nice stadium. But good win for Monaco, especially after their 4-0 walloping in midweek from Nice, which again, nobody really saw coming, despite the red card in that game. I think that's a real shock result. But they were back on the target this weekend. They went a goal behind. Well, technically, they kind of went 2 goals behind. But the first goal was disallowed for a very questionable offside decision. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's very, very marginal. The referee gives the goal. The players are running back to the centre circle to set up again. Monaco have accepted they're a goal down. And then all of a sudden, there's a bit of a commotion. The referee's off to the linesman, and then he decides miraculously to imagine that he's seen an offside, which he didn't even put his flag up for. So you'd have to say, like, Angers have been really, really upset this week, naturally, because they could have been 1-0 up. And they'd be even more upset when they did go 1-0 up, because they would have been 2-0 up.
Terrible cliche klaxon going off on my head about French and reversing things and stuff.
Yes, indeed, or surrendering leads. Diedhiou put Angers in front, and the thing is that they got that goal very quickly after they got the disallowed goal, and you really thought, right, they need to build on this and sit tight. But unfortunately for them, big Kamil Glick, who you'll know well, John, rose majestically to smash home the 66-minute equaliser. I actually thought he'd got the winner, but it turned out to be an Nkwame own goal. But Glick was the man who was on the end of the shot that ended up ricocheting into the net. And Monaco claimed the points. And as you rightly say, I mean, that one blip of their season for Monaco, that heavy loss at Nice. But I think they're going to do all right this season. I actually think they're going to make the Champions League quarterfinals as well. I'm going to say that on this pod now. I think they're very well organised, and I think their style is going to suit the Champions League extremely well. And it seems to be doing quite well in Liga right now.
Oh, you heard it here first, people. Now, onto our last game. Onto my old friend Lucien. Has been doing pretty well. And now, currently, if I'm not wrong, top of Liga with Nice.
He is. He is doing Nice a very nice favour. But okay. Yeah, I'm scraping the barrel tonight, big time. But yeah, it's a terrific result. Again, in a tough place to go, all the cliches, etc. Again, Nancy, promoted club, difficult team to beat at home, all that sort of goes. But Ali Sam player, again, stepping up. I really like him as a player. I didn't mean that as a pun. I do like him. I think he's a really, really talented young professional. I think he will go far if he stays clear of injury, which is always the big issue. And he's only 23 years of age, and I think if he gets a run on the side, he will get goals. But yeah, he was very impressive, and Nice run out with the winners in this game with the 1-0 victory. Nancy, I don't think they'll be massively gutted. I know they sit in second bottom, but as a promoted club, when you're playing the team that is now top of Liga, no less, don't think they'll be that bothered in the grand scheme of the season. They'll probably looked at this fixture and thought, well, it's a bonus if we get a result. Their home form is going to be crucial. But yeah, as I say, when you lose the top of the table, you can't really say too much, can you?
No, can't complain. Nice looking very good at the moment. I don't think they're going to trouble for winning the league, but maybe got a chance at a Champions League spot, possibly, if they can keep this sort of form up.
I worry they can keep it going all season, but the one thing you'll get, and you'll know this well, is when you've got Mario Balotelli up front, you just never know.
Yeah.
If he carries on like he is, which is the attitude's right, the commitment's right, and he's firing, they will get goals. And they got goals all over the pitch. That's the thing. And they've got such a young, talented side. And Favre, well, he's a good manager, and he will bring out the best in them. And if they can keep Mario on the straight and narrow, which is obviously the hardest point, I do think they've got a chance. Can they contain it all season? Sustain it all season, I should say. I'm not sure, but I'd love to see it because they're a joy to watch.
It's very early days, but we should see where it goes. Do you want to give us the rest of the results from Liga from this weekend?
I shall indeed. Lorient, they got a win. Woohoo! At long bloody last. Well, it's their second, technically, but it was a big win, this, because they beat Lyon. Jimmy Cabot, the dynamic little man, he got the winner. They clung on a bit, Lorient, but superb result, and rewarded their goalkeeper, who had a sterling game, Benjamin Leconte. He signed a new contract this week, so he celebrated in style with a clean sheet. Bordeaux also got a clean sheet. Sadly enough for them, though, it's at home to Cannes, who most people are beating this season. So I did 0-0. Not a lot to say about that. Montpellier lost at home to Metz, who are absolutely flying. Metz, promoted side, 3 wins in their last 5. They're up to 6th. Really good result this. Mevlut Erding with his 6th goal of the season. He doesn't laugh like a penalty, that boy. Bastia beat Guingamp by a 0-0. Crivelli scored and then got sent off, as you do. He's a brute of a man if you see him for his age. He's absolutely massive. Fernando Massal also sent off for Guingamp, which probably contributed to the victory. But yeah, good result that for Bastia with a late winner. Dijon, I'm not going to do the joke, but they won against Rennes by 3-0. Take out your pencils, people. That's not a euphemism. Write down the name Lois Diony. I think this kid's going to be really, really good. Reminds me a lot of Nicolas Anelka, for those of you who followed English football and Real Madrid back in the day. Direct, quick, 23 years of age. He scored 2 and made the other in this game. I think he's going to be a real star. So there you go. There's a future Hipsters Choice for you. St Etienne beat Lille by 3-1. St Etienne in scoring more than once. Shocker. Beric, Nordine and Roux. Crivelli with the goal back. Civelli with the goal back for Lille. Wasn't enough for them. Berrier sent off. And in the final game, Marseille beat Nantes in a massive. We said last week it could be a massive game. Marseille coming from behind, amazingly. Salah for Nantes. Clinton and G with his first since signing back from Spurs. And Bafétimbi Gomis with the penalty. Marseille up to the heady heights of 13th.
Good Lord. And speaking of 13th and the table, do you want to give us the positions as they are at the moment?
Indeed. So, Nice, as we said, top of the table, 17 points from their 7 games. Monaco are in second. Toulouse, incredible, under Pascal Duprat, third in the league, 14 points. PSG, also incredibly, fourth at the moment on 13, level with Bordeaux and Metz, also on 13. St Etienne, Guingamp, Lyon in 9th, and Bastia make up the top 10. Rennes, Angers and Marseille are 11th, 12th, 13th respectively. Dijon, Cannes, Montpellier and Lorient just above the relegation zone, which is currently filled by Lille, incredibly bottom of the table for the first time since I think it's 1999 from memory. Nancy and Nantes, who I think are also going to have a long season. Sorry, Janzev. They make up the bottom 3. I can give you
got to get us a game for this weekend.
Yes. So obviously the French team's in action in midweek as well. Champions League, Europa League will be across those on Thursday. As far as the game of next weekend, I'm going to go for Lyon St Etienne. It's a bit of an obvious one because it is the Derby de Rivière, but it could be a bit explosive. Lyon are at home. I weirdly fancy St Etienne to get something from that game. So head on the chopping block once again. If you do want a bit of a hipster fixture, though, have a look at Metz Monaco on Saturday night. It'd be really interesting to see how Metz get on against Monaco.
I'm going to go for a Corentin Tolisso brace in the Lyon St Etienne game.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah.
Thinking about players from teams and stuff.
Yeah, thinking about players from other leagues and stuff. I pay attention. I listen.
Yeah, I like it. Fair enough.
Well, that's it for Liga. So I'll hand back to you, Chris.
Super, thank you very much. Right, that brings an end to our run around the 4 major European leagues. So now we're going to transition into another league that we pick on. We do one every week and see how teams are getting on. This week, we're going to stay in Europe, actually, and we're going to go for the best of the rest from Belgium. Okay, so what's going on in the best of the rest in Belgium then? We have got, well, very bizarre league this season at the moment. It's not going according to plan. We've had 8 games in the Belgian league, and Zulte Waregem are top of the table, 19 points from the 8 played, 6 wins, a draw and a defeat, and they are 4 points clear of Anderlecht, who rather surprisingly lost at home this weekend to Westerlo, who are, fair to say, pretty lowly. They're bottom of the league, but goals from Helen and Rummens in the 85th minute. Hanny had equalised for Anderlecht, but 2 minutes later, Rummens popped up and got a winner. So superb result that for Westerlo. Don't think they would have expected it. Elsewhere, we have got Standard Liège, that famous old name, up into 3rd. Ghent and Sporting Charleroi occupy the 4th and 5th positions, and Kortrijk having a good season as well. They're 6th in the table at the moment. They got a fantastic win this weekend, 4-1 over Genk. Don't think anyone saw that one coming. Down at the bottom, you've got Westerlo, as I said, bottom, Vassland Beveren, who you might know of, John and Tom, used to provide Arsenal with some youth players back in the day. They are second bottom. Royal Excel Mouscron, it's the greatest name ever, isn't it? 14th. Eupen, Lokeren and St Truiden are 11th, 12th and 13th. Genk, Mechelen, Oostend and Club Brugge, you'll also remember well, are making up the mid-table. So, so it's all happening in Belgium. Next weekend, you've got a massive clash. The 2nd of October, Sunday, you have got Standard Liège against Anderlecht. Club Brugge also playing Ghent. So some quite big fixtures next weekend if you're a fan of the old Belgian league. Even Kortrijk against Standard Liège looks a bit tempting for the week after. So plenty of big fixtures to come. Plenty of talent in Belgium. It's well worth a look. So that's where we stand as we speak. Right, let's move on then, and it's time for a player profile. It's time to put another person into our collection. It's this week's Hipsters Choice. So this week's Hipster's Choice, we've decided to come to my neck of the woods. It's a player from Liga. It's a midfielder. It's a man who I rate rather highly. This week, it's Monaco's Tiémoué Bakayoko. Okay then, so Hipster's Choice. What do we know about Tiémoué Bakayoko? I almost butchered his name there. That was terrible, wasn't it? So, what do we know? Well, he was born on the 17th of August 1994. He's 22 years of age. He plays for Monaco in France. He's an under-21 international. He's 6 foot dead, according to these stats. He's 72 kilograms, which is 159 pounds in old money. He is the Monaco number 14. holding midfield player, shoots with the right foot. He's a client of Nike. He wears their Mercurial Vapor 11 footwear, I should say. You can find him on Twitter at TimuBO or B08. He's also on Instagram, Bakayoko_official14. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? What do we know about him then? Well, he was born in Paris, France. His parents are immigrants from the Ivory Coast. He played for a number of local clubs during his youth, and disappointed he didn't make the cut at the INF from Clairefontaine to you and I, the academy there. When he was 13, an elite youth academy graduate overseen by the French Football Federation. However, although it was a huge disappointment, he did manage to get into the academy at Rennes. After an 8-month break due to a broken tibia and fibia, that's never nice, is it? Bakayoko started to progress both through physically and mentally, and he was selected for the French under-16 team, although he was also approached by the Ivorian Football Federation. In the 12-13 season, he played with Rennes reserves, contracted another injury, unfortunately, this time to his meniscus, and that also required surgery. Under the new Rennes coach, Philippe Montalier, who of course is now at Nottingham Forest, Bakayoko made his Liga debut in August of 2013-14 season. He made a total of 28 appearances for Rennes that season, and that's when he joined Monaco in the 2014-15 season. Made 18 appearances for the club, and in the 15-16 season he made 23 appearances, scoring 2 goals. He's a young defensive midfield player, as we mentioned before. As far as his strengths and weaknesses goes, well, obviously the injury record is a bit of a concern, given the fact that he has had those 2 rather serious injuries. He wasn't a starter, wasn't a regular in the Monaco midfield last season, mainly due to the form of Jean Moutinho and Jeremy Toulon, who was playing centre-back and midfield, a variation of the 2 positions. But this season he's really carved a niche. He's been kind of first choice, had an absolutely fantastic game in the Champions League away at Wembley Stadium when they played Tottenham Hotspur. He's definitely a player that I think will make the grade, and he's a player that I think he's very underrated with regards to how he plays positionally. That holding midfield role, it's not a role that's easily done. It's not a role that's easily looked after, especially in Liga, where it's a very physical league. With the injuries that he's got, you do kind of worry. But he's really stepped up a grade this season. I think he's going to be a big star. A couple of additional facts I can give you. He actually made 7 tackles and 4 interceptions in his deep lying role against PSG this season. That's quite impressive against essentially the best side in France, let's be honest. It probably won't win too many trophies this season individually, but he's gone a long way into warming his way into the Monaco Hearts. So I think he's going to be a big star. So that's another Hipsters Choice sorted out for this week. John, I just want to pick on you very briefly before we move on, because Bakayoko he's been kind of compared to a young Patrick Vieira, which is obviously a big thing to label at anyone. But you're probably you're as old as me. You'll probably remember when Patrick Vieira first strode out at Highbury, I think it was, for Arsenal against Sheffield Wednesday all those years ago. In your opinion, what makes a player kind of in Bakayoko's position make that step from youth product like Vieira was one time to essentially global superstar within a couple of years?
It's very difficult these days because you're so much more scrutinised. You only have to look at how Paul Pogba has sort of been ripped to shreds going from Juventus, where he was absolutely loved, and then going to Man United, and it looked like it hadn't really worked out, and it was ridiculous amount of time to judge him on because it was just a couple of games. I think physically he's most of the way there already, to be honest, and it was something that when you saw Vieira, as you gave your example, when he first came on, it's this, okay, he's very tall, but he's very lanky, and he didn't look particularly strong, but he was surprisingly strong for that position, which is one thing you need. The thing now that's even more important is the technical ability on the ball and the reading of the game. You can have a fantastic engine and you can be physically strong and fit and be able to run up and down the pitch all day, but if you can't pass the ball, see where to make the interception and that kind of thing, you really won't make it at the very top level. So I think, if he does it consistently for Monaco all this season, then obviously he's going to be highlighted, and the fact that he'll be doing it in Europe as well in the Champions League is only a good thing for him. But he will have to step up to sort of one of the bigger boys, or bigger leagues, quote unquote, as Liga sort of is of the top 4 in Europe is probably the smaller one in terms of the big name players anyway. So I think he's the sort of player who probably actually would be better off going to either a Spain or Italy than the Premier League, perhaps, just because I think having all those physical attributes, that kind of thing, that's great. He's already got that, but he needs to learn the technical side of his game more, and I think he'd benefit more from either one of those leagues than he would, say, from the Premier League, where they would just use his size and maybe not work on so much the other abilities that you need to excel in that kind of position.
Yeah, great point. I think the league's moved on a lot since the days of Vieira, where he was allowed to play his game. As you say, I think it would be almost like Didier and Dog, who's taken a massive leap from Lorient to Sunderland, and you do wonder if it's a move too soon for a player of his level. But we will keep our close eye on Tiamoué and see how he gets on. And of course, with Monaco, as you said, in the Champions League, there'll be plenty of opportunities for our listeners to take a look at him. So there you go. Another inductee to the Hipsters Choice. I should mention as well, I have updated the website now. So if you go to our website, you can have a look at the Hipsters Choice. As you look at the website, footballhipsters.co.uk, it's Football Hipsters Podcast, .co.uk, put my teeth in. If you scroll along to the top bar, you can see Hipsters Choice, and you can have a look through the ones we've done previously. All of last season's are still up as well, so you can find all sorts there. Do fill your boots. But yeah, I've updated the 3 we've done so far: Sacha Kljestan, Oliver Burke, and Emre Moore. They've all got time checks. So if you go into those individual icons, you can go to our podcast and find the time when we start previewing them and have a listen. So please do. Right, as usual, if you've got any choices or anybody you want us to cover, just drop us a tweet and we will do our very best. Okay, we're going to finish then with our list.
We have a goal.
Oh, we have a goal. Oh,
Alaves
before we finish. Alaves, I know everyone was waiting for that, so it's important that we. So just right. So Alaves have scored against whom, Tom? Granada. There we go.
Edgar.
See, we are watching games as we speak.
And I was paying attention in the Cagliari and Sampdoria game, I promise, because it's 1-0. Sampa losing. I wasn't watching. I'm lying.
See, this is what I have to work with, people. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
I've got to record this. I can't watch the football at the same time. It's very complicated.
All right, we'll let you off. We'll let you off. With the bad puns and stuff I've done tonight, I think we can let it slide. Right, we will finish then with your questions answered. It is this week's Onion Bag. Right, just a couple this week, gentlemen. So we're going to skip through these as best we can. So keep your answers short and punchy. That's the way I like it. Let's start with you, Tom. Gunner Outpost. He's got 2 questions to you, so I'm just going to give them to you back to back. He wants your thoughts on Iñaki Williams, which I think a little plug for the Hipsters Choice. You've already done this, haven't you, Tom? However, you can go again. And also, he wants to know how good you think Las Palmas are.
Oh, okay. I'll start with Las Palmas first. They are reasonably good this season, but like other teams in the league, there are odd results which stand out. Like in midweek, they obviously lost 4-1 to Sociedad, which was a surprise. But obviously, they've gone and drawn 2-2 in Real Madrid. And to be honest, Real Madrid didn't make them look poor. They didn't make them look like they were a small team in the league. It was a competitive match, and I enjoyed watching it, actually. They look good. I mean, obviously, they lost Willian Jose, ironically, to Sociedad in the summer. But at the moment, they've got players like Tanner and Momo who are really stepping up. I love that they're both called Tanner and Momo. I mean, that's just brilliant in itself. But no, they look good. They look competitive. Araujo, the ex-Barcelona striker, stepping up for them, who scored the equaliser against Real Madrid. And they do look good. In terms of Iñaki Williams, he's not having the stellar season this season as he did last season. He hasn't scored yet. Started 5 of their 6 matches. He scored 8 last season in 21 starts. So he's young though, and he will get better and better. He's shown signs that he has potential to be a great player. He's physical, he's rapid, he's tall, and they're all my favourite attributes when it comes to wingers. We've got a tall, physical, fast winger. So he has all the attributes to do well in this league, and I hope he can. And after speaking to Rob on our interview with the Athletic Club UK Twitter account and podcast, he says that after Adarita leaves, obviously with a talent pool only based in the Basque region, they look to him to be the replacement striker possibly. So interesting times ahead.
Good stuff. And if you want to know, Mr. Outpost, that's what I'm going to call you because it sounds funky. If you want to know Tom's in-depth thoughts from last season, you can go to episode 15 of last season, and you can scroll to 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 9 seconds to be exact. And you can listen to Tom wax lyrical about Iñaki there as well. So there you go. It's almost like we wrote that, wasn't it, to tie that in. Superb. Right, John. Let's be fair on you and give you a combo meal of questions as well. 2 here for you. Michael Folletti, long-time listener, and Pete Kennelly, long-time listener. They are both very welcome as usual. Pete wants to know, Serie A, the Mandzukic-Higuain partnership, does it need time or does it need the scrap heap? And Michael wants to know also thoughts on Juve. Can they challenge for the Champions League? And what do you make of them being compared to the big teams, especially after the Inter loss?
Yeah, Higuain and Mandzukic didn't look great. That's certainly true. The issue there really becomes that Dybala hasn't started the season fantastically. He's yet to get off the score sheet. He's got a few assists, but he hasn't been playing very well. I think the real problem stems from the midfield. Pjanic hasn't fit in quite properly yet. They've sort of brought him in as if to play the way Pirlo used to, and it hasn't really worked out. And Pjanic is used to being further up the pitch, getting more involved in the goals rather than sort of orchestrating it from deep. So I think the fact that Marquisio's back in training will be huge for them. If you're going to play Mandzukic and Higuain, then you really need someone to do all the running for them. Higuain will run on the shoulder and Mandzukic will win you headers and things like that. So you've got to be... It's more from set pieces and delivering crosses and that kind of thing. As to being compared to the big teams, I think they're just below the sort of levels of, Madrid, Barca, and Bayern Munich, sort of the top 3 for the Champions League. I think they can win it, and I think the money they spent was with the intent to try and win the Champions League. That's what they spent all that money on. But they're still trying to work out how you fit Dybala, Pjanic, Higuain, and Mandzukic all in the team together. And Allegri hasn't quite worked it out yet, but I think when Marquisio comes back, that'll be really big for them. So I still expect them to go far in the competition, and they've got the extra goal threat that they maybe needed in Higuain, but maybe just missing that sort of true superstar player. Dybala has got the ability to do that, but it might be a season or two too early for him.
Yes, agreed. We actually had a question about Dybala, which I probably should ask you while you're on the subject. It comes from A1 at Orns First. He simply says, what is going on with Dybala? Do you think the partnership with Higuain isn't working because he's not the main man anymore?
No, I don't think so. I mean, last season, Pogba was still at the club and he was still the one in the headlines and everything else. Dybala was obviously getting very rave reviews and deserving of them because of his performances, and he probably was the best player in the team last season. But he's not that kind of player that wants to be the standout name or anything else. He doesn't rate himself personally. He's very humble. He didn't think he was good enough to go to Juventus when he signed for him. So I don't think he has a problem with playing with Higuain, and they've linked up quite well. So far when they've played the season. He's just a little bit out of form at the moment. I think he'll find it and he'll come back. Again, I think a lot of it comes down to Pjanic and trying to integrate him in the team as well, with Dybala. 2 very creative players who want to make the goals for other people and get them themselves, and trying to find that balance. But yeah, I'm sure he'll find his form back, and he's more than capable of playing with Higuain. They apparently get on very well, and obviously both being Argentinian. I know Messi has now come out of retirement for international duty. If he had stayed retired, you would have thought that perhaps those 2 would be arguably leading the line, or maybe Icardi with Dybala behind Icardi and Higuain. So yeah, I'm sure that partnership will definitely blossom with giving a bit more time.
Yeah, agreed. We have got one more for you, John. Actually, you're very heavy this week with questions. Not one Liga question, so listeners, you all suck. No, we love you really, of course. But the other question we had is a Bundesliga question, but I'm going to tie Tom in. And how I'm going to do it is simple. Mr. Shredder, that we spoke about earlier, Jason, he wanted to ask what the heck do Wolves, as in Wolfsburg, need to do to get a win? And I want to just sort of say, like my opinion, watching Wolfsburg, and I did see the game that they lost that we mentioned earlier on to Bremen, where they just took their foot off the accelerator. They were 1-0 up and fairly comfortable, and they just sat deeper. They don't look like a side that can defend the lead. I don't think they're utilising their weapons anywhere near enough. I don't think Draxler is settled. I think he's still looking for a move away. There's a lot of talk actually today, funny enough, that he's still intent on moving on, possibly even as early as January. And I could still see that being PSG, which is just what PSG need. Yet another wide forward that they're going to play out of position, so that will work well. But yeah, I just don't think they're utilising Mario Gomez since they've signed him. That they're not playing to his strengths, and they look like a side with a lot of money but no direction. And it's a mess. It really is a mess. And I can't help but think that it's since they let Nicholas Bentner go. Clearly that's the issue. But what I wanted to ask you, Tom, to tie it in is, can you give us an example of a team? I'm guessing you're probably going to say Valencia here, but a team in Spain that, have got the reputation like Wolfsburg has, or have got a bit of money about them, but just constantly fail. And, is it Valencia? Would you say, is that the best example?
It could be. It depends. If you mean fail on a domestic level, you could argue Sevilla. Obviously, in terms of European football, they do incredibly well in the Europa League, but they haven't won an away game, as I say, since 2014-15 season. But I mean, Valencia is probably the best at the moment. They are dreadful and unpredictable, and it's sort of the same thing. They're not utilising their weapons. I'm looking at the Wolfsburg team now, and to be honest, I'm not seeing massive. They let Max Cruz go in the summer, didn't they?
Yes.
I mean, was that a mistake? Because I thought he was pretty decent. I might be wrong. I don't watch enough of him, but I thought he was. He was at Gladbach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, have they bought well? Did they buy in that Bruno Henrique from Rennes? Is that right?
Yeah, they brought Bruno Henrique in. Who else? Jakub Blaszczykowski or John O'Nowell. Gilles Avogie was a permanent signing towards the back end of last season.
Darby's been decent, hasn't he?
Yeah, Tadavi is, and he probably was the big signing, and he is absolutely superb, by the way. But yeah, Jeffrey Brewer at the back, it just has that look of something missing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, they brought in Mayoral from Madrid, and he hasn't played yet, and that's an odd signing. He's not got massive game time for Real Madrid's first team, fair amount for the second team, but he's not the striker they needed at all. I mean, I think there were players out there they could have gone for. I mean, you see like players like Sanabria go off to Real Betis from Roma. They could have gone in for him. There's no reason why they couldn't have done. So it's strange, very strange.
They did sign a brilliant player in the summer from their youth team to promote to the first team called Marcel Stutter. Which is just a great name. And before anyone says anything, I'm not mocking people with a genuine disability. I just love the name.
Penalties.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, so Zaza is a big fan. Apparently, rumor has it. But yeah, they are a bit of an enigma. I can't help but think Jace has picked a very odd side to support. But nevertheless, we might get Jace on to do an interview at some point and just talk about why he chose to pick Wolfsburg. But
it'll take over an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got good kits. I mean, obviously we know that is what is important in life, a good kit, as I'll tell you. Right. Final question then, seeing as I have none. Boo! John, it's you again, and it's our good friend Jimmy at NN Guna. And the final question for tonight is simply about Kondogbia. So I suppose I could have a say if I really wanted to here, but he says, are Kondogbia's struggles down to the FDB system, Frank de Boer, of course, or is his level of play to blame? Because he's flattered to deceive. He was a big signing. He was talked about as being the future of a lot of Premier League midfields and a big star. And his career has gone a little bit sideways, hasn't it, John? And now with all the signings Inter have made, he finds himself on the bench a lot.
Yeah, he played at the weekend and was substituted off after 28 minutes and was applauded when not applauded for his efforts Frank de Boer was applauded for taking him off. I've got some quotes about him in the game. I'll read out to you first. If a player does not want to understand, there's not a lot I can do. Spoke with him in the morning when we lost João Mario to injury and told him just to play simple balls, particularly with his back to goal in the most dangerous areas, but he just does not want to listen. There are a few things we talked about for ages, but he doesn't listen. You can't not go on understanding where you cannot take risks and where instead you need to keep things simple. He keeps repeating the same mistakes, including for Bologna's goal. Maybe there was a foul on him, but that doesn't count anyway. He had the chance to play the ball away safely with two teammates free close by. It's not a problem that you make mistakes in a match, but what I cannot accept is when you make them because you do not want to listen. Yeah,
that's quite brutal. People say Mourinho's comments on Luke Shaw were brutal. That is, he's honest,
he was totally honest. Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Someone said, I think it might have been yourself talking about Danny Mills saying how players are a bit sort of mollycoddled.
You can't tell them off.
Yeah, you can't tell them off. It is nonsense. Of course you can tell them off. The fact that some managers do it in public, I don't have a problem with it. He also said he's going to speak to... this is after the game. I'm going to speak to him tomorrow and I will listen to see what he has to say. He's got to prove to me that he's changed. It's not a given that he will return in the Europa League against Sparta Prague because it takes more than just a few days to erase everything. He also included, with Kondogbia, interestingly, they are both good players, and he was talking about Brozovic as well. And I have no problems about fielding them, but they just need to realise they must change. Now, Kondogbia didn't play great under Mancini, but the couple of times when he did, he looked fantastic. And obviously when he was at Monaco, he looked a very exciting player, and he had all the physicality in the build and everything else, and he looked quite good on the ball. And it just hasn't worked out to him since he's gone to Inter. According to Mancini and all the coaches whilst he was there, he was like amazing in training, would do unbelievable things, and they just couldn't get it out of him on the pitch. And Mancini's thoughts were that it was a sort of a mentality issue, and having a confidence in himself and a belief. De Boer obviously is a different kind of manager, and I don't think he slammed him with any of his comments that he's made. You know, it was his fault, the Bologna goal. He made the error that led to it, so he was right to do what he's done. If he listens and does what De Boer says, then he can certainly turn it around. I was quite excited for him this season because I thought, with the players we brought in, I thought, yeah, we can play him, you can play João Mario, you can play Candreva, Gabigol, Icardi, Eder, you know, not leaving out, you know, you've got Ava Banega as well to play in. There's so many options. And it was the deeper sort of two, if you're going to play 4-2-3-1, which looks like what we're going to play most of the time at Inter. You know, he's a good option to have in there next to a Medel or João Mario or whoever. So he's really wasting his opportunity. I hope it works out for him because obviously it was a lot of money. And he could end up being one of those players who ends up going sort of from club to club and doesn't really find his feet until he's much older. But yeah, he's not in De Boer's good books at the moment.
No, expect to see him rock up at Valencia anytime soon to catapult their midfield into obscurity.
By the way, goal! Another goal!
Who's it for?
Scored again.
Oh,
so I think we can safely say we have a result.
They are getting result. And for anyone who cares about English football, Burnley are 2-0 up on Watford. Nice. So there you go. Good. Okay. Right. Well, that pretty much draws a line under our questions then. So good ones there, apart from none from France. Hint, hint. No, genuinely, if you've got a question that you want to ask us, we usually tweet in the afternoons on a Monday. So just preface it with hashtags of Serie, Bundesliga, Liga, or La Liga, and we'll get them answered for you. Or we'll try anyway. We can't answer everything, but we'll do our very best. So pop us a question and we'll do our best to get it answered. Right, before we wrap up the show, we're just going to give a couple of mentions very quickly because we're nice like that. Firstly, I want to give a mention to a gentleman by the name of Jake Bayliss. Jake has taken up the challenge of blogging for the Football Hipsters podcast. So thank you, Jake. Jake is a Villa fan, so do send him your condolences because he'll probably need them right now, bless him. But he wants to do a little bit of work for us blogging-wise, talking about his love for German football. He started getting into the Bundesliga, and I think I might have convinced him to write a little bit about how he came to love Aston Villa as well. So look out for Jake's work. I think he's going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. So obviously once that's up, we'll let you know. We'll publish it, and do give it a look, because Jake's new to it all. He just wants to put his thoughts on paper. So do give that a read and give him some love. So thank you to Jake. He's at Jakey Bayliss with 3 S's on the end if you want to give him a follow. And I also put out a tweet before we started recording tonight, and I said first person to reply to this tweet will get a little shout out, just because we like to acknowledge you, the listeners. So this week's shout out goes to Ahmed Saeed, a long time listener to the podcast. His what do you call it, John? What's the technical term? His picture on Twitter. What's it called?
I think it's just called his picture.
I want to say vector, but that's not right, is it? His little picture, anyway, whatever it's called. It's a picture of a man with a beard and glasses. It's very hipster-esque. So like that a lot. So Ahmed, you get our shout out. Ahmed is an Arsenal fan, the mighty Arsenal, he says. He says Ahmed Saeed Sistemo. That's what he wants to be known as. So there you go, Ahmed. You have got our shout out. And he says, shakalaka, #TFHP. So there you go. There's a very first annual shout out of the season going to Ahmed. Thank you very much to him. Right then, we will leave it there. We will be back. Oh, I say we. I will be back on Thursday. And John, it's been fun. I've loved having you, and I will have you back. But this week I've decided to go for somebody a bit better looking. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got myself a little holiday up north for a couple of days.
Okay. Well, I've invited the lovely Lana to come back on, so we're going to sit and have a little natter. She's probably going to have a big whinge about Juventus, probably an even bigger whinge about Lyon, and we'll also run through all of the week's Champions League and Europa League action as usual. So do tune in for that on Thursday. All being well, that should be out Thursday night / Friday morning at the latest. So do look out for that. And my thanks, as always, goes to the team. Obviously, Drew not being able to be here at the moment. To Kelly for her excellent work with our Hipsters Choice. And indeed to Gaz for his wonderful work recording and putting this thing together. And Kat and Var for all their fantastic design work. So thank you all to them. Thank you both to you, gentlemen, as well. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, John.
Pleasure as always.
No problem.
You can subscribe to us, of course, at the FH Podcast on Twitter. You can look us up on YouTube, on iTunes, and, of course, on our brand spanking new SoundCloud channel, where I must admit, even I've been surprised, we've had some really, really fantastic figures. And we've got listeners in places like Dubai, in Nigeria, in Qatar. It's awesome. So you are all awesome. We love you very much. But
thank you very much to the listeners as well for helping us to get that going.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Your donations made that possible. Anyone who donated, thank you very, very much. And if you want to donate, you still can. No pressure from us. We don't make any money out of this. It's purely to make this podcast better. So thank you all very, very much. Right. So until the Satchel on Thursday, until the English breakfast on Sunday, where me and Ross will talk about all things English. You can listen to last night's if you want. That's still available. We'll be back on the podcast next week. Just be Tom and John and myself again, I believe. But until then, keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. We have been the Football Hipsters. Have a great week and enjoy your football.